Hi, Amanda. I am so happy to welcome you into the Gut Glow Reset 3-month coaching program, just to embark on this journey together to really get to the root cause of your gut issues, help you heal your bloating, that constant bloat that is just not going away with anything that you do. Get your gut just in a much better place, get your indigestion and reflux healed, address the root causes of why that's happening, improve your gut integrity, and this will all support your metabolism and the way you feel every day, your energy levels, your fatigue. So I'm really, really happy to be working with you and hope you're excited to dive into some diet changes and some targeted supplementation, some lifestyle changes to help you heal and get you started in the right direction. So I'm going to share my screen with you, get to showing you your welcome packet with your recommendations and your gut glow plan to get you started. So hold on a sec. Okay. So this is your packet. It's about 40 pages. We're not going to be going over every single page in detail, but we're going to go over your main recommendations, a little bit about the program, why this is important, why gut healing is important, and let's get right to it. So I think I'll keep it like there. We're zoomed in a tiny bit just to make it easier for you to read. So a little welcome here. So again, so happy to have you and get you feeling your vibrant self again without these gut issues bogging you down and impacting your everyday life. So you've already started using, the Google Drive, which is great, your roadmap, you're getting emails with tasks to complete from Healthy. You're going to join the Facebook group, which is where I post the links for Zooms, and I post a lot of tips and just certain links after our live calls. I post Monday goals for the week. We post Friday wins for the week. So we try to keep that pretty active throughout the week. You can ask questions in there also every week that you think others in the program would benefit from, that are like diet questions or menu questions. We'll be using obviously Healthy for Messenger and digital food tracking. We'll be doing some bi-monthly check-ins, which will be in addition to the live calls. So that's where we'll have a one-to-one check-in that's, off of the call, and really we'll do that via Messenger. We can talk on there, use that voice messaging, which is really helpful. So we'll be doing that via email, where I'll send you a bi-monthly check-in form, and then we'll have a check-in where we kind of fine-tune what's going on with you. We'll fine-tune, we'll review your symptoms, your progress, and change anything that we need to change based on where you're at. So you'll have the 6 live calls during the 3-month program. We usually have some sort of education also on the live calls, so you're getting not just the video modules, but education spread throughout the program as well during the live calls with additional lessons. And it just the more that you post in your journal, the more you're going to get out of the program. I recommend doing at least 3 weekdays and 1 weekend day, so I can best serve you and really get a good sense of your meal patterns, your symptoms, and your weekly progress. And anything that you post in there is beneficial, such as symptoms, water intake, bowel movements, no pictures, but you can add the type of bowel movement it is. You can log your activity. You can pair your Fitbit or Apple Watch, which is really helpful for me to really see the entire picture. You can post symptoms as, like, for bloating, you could do on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being very severe, 1 being very mild. So that really helps me based on what foods that you had eaten in the past, like 24 hours or so, or what your meal pattern was like and when your symptoms started. So that's really helpful for us to put the pictures together and for me to help you troubleshoot with that based on certain dietary choices. And then again, we'll use the roadmap as a really kind of check-in point, where I'll be adding additional notes there throughout the program and additional goals. We'll fine-tune your habits and goals through there too. I'll evaluate your lab work, any lab work that you're able to get over these next few months. And yeah, I believe I just covered all that. So any questions you have about Healthy, just let me know. I think it's pretty user-friendly. And you seem to have gotten the hang of it too with entering your food. So just let me know if you have any questions about that. This is a health vision form. I'm going to send this to you later in the week, just kind of evaluating and reinforcing what having good health means to you and why this is going to be, what's going to help keep you coming back to yourself and motivated on your journey over the next 3 months. I'm really excited for you to be able to feel better for the holidays, because the holidays can be a tough time when you're not feeling good. You want to be enjoying the holiday spirit, and we're just going to have some, even some small tweaks are going to make a big difference with how you're feeling. So I'm very excited for you to feel better and be able to still enjoy a lot of the holiday festivities. So let's talk about we are what our gut bacteria eat. Our gut bacteria are receiving information from the food that we eat every single day. And there's a spectrum here of how our gut microbiome perceives the state of health and the state of disease. So we have beneficial bacteria that are growing and replicating when we're eating beneficial foods like prebiotics, which are foods or supplements that feed our good gut bacteria, probiotics, which are those live bacterial strains that we actually consume via supplements, via food sources. So, and there's specific ones that we'll be talking about that are more beneficial now for you than others, because some can actually like kind of stir the fire up a little bit, kind of add fuel to the fire when you have a bacterial imbalance. So we'll talk about ones that are good for you right now as we're getting into gut healing. We know fiber and veggies, fruits, nuts, and seeds are really great for beneficial gut bacteria. We'll be talking about specific low fermentable carbohydrates that are very good for you right now to reduce your food reactions and bloating in the meantime while we're treating the root cause issue. So we'll talk about which fibers are good for you right now, polyphenols, foods that have very rich, deep colors like berries and dark chocolate and leafy greens, resistant starches, which we'll talk about, herbs and spices. All these things are increasing that spectrum to the right of good health, having short-chain fatty acid production, which are beneficial metabolites of our good bacteria. So they're actually the reward for eating good fiber-filled foods. Antioxidant production increases, improved lipid metabolism, so better ability to burn fat for weight loss efforts for some, lower gut inflammation, have a better immune system because most of our immune system lies around the gut. We're going to be targeting gut permeability as well, really strengthening the gut lining and the gut integrity. And this also improves insulin resistance and blood sugar regulation as well when we have better balance of good gut bacteria. When we have things like excess sugar intake over time, we have higher saturated fat or excess red meat that's not grass-fed or not organic. When we have artificial sweeteners, when we are taking antibiotics often, when we take antacids, these things can actually be negatively affecting our gut microbiome, and in turn can reduce our short-chain fatty acid production, increase endotoxins that are bacterial toxins such as LPS, which is lipopolysaccharide. I'll talk more about this in some of the video lessons, because our gut bacteria, when we have higher pathogens, they can increase these bacterial toxins that negatively affect our health. So we want to reduce these pathogens, increase the good bacteria. And you can't always just do that through food. So we're going to be talking about some targeted supplements that can help facilitate that. They can influence altered bowels like loose stools or constipation. They can influence our blood sugar regulation, and they actually can affect cognition, mood, increase cardiovascular risk, and cause hyperlipidemia, like high cholesterol, high LDL, and things like that. So these are some overall factors that can tip that scale negatively. We have chronic stress. So when we're in a chronic state of fight or flight, when we have internal stressors, like things like going on like gut imbalances, plus external stresses, things that are stressing us out in our everyday life, work, relationships, life events, things that happen, that's all contributing to our physiological stress. And that can kind of keep things going in a negative direction if that's the way the microbiome is headed. Then we have antibiotics. This is definitely like the number one thing I see influencing gut microbiome and the related symptoms when the gut microbiome is out of balance. And even once a year can really start to damage that gut microbiome over time. NSAIDs like Advil and ibuprofen, and really any medication has negative implications for the gut microbiome. Obviously, some are needed, and that's totally okay. Things like birth control actually does impact the gut microbiome negatively as well. So that has definitely, I think, played a role, not as the main cause, but as definitely played a role in some of the symptoms that have popped up for you over time. 1 second. Okay, sorry, I have a little puppy and she's jumping on me. So, okay, so alcohol, we know alcohol can negatively affect the gut microbiome, can increase pathogen growth of bad bacteria. We know processed vegetable oils that are really ever present in the food industry, really used as like a cheap filler oil in processed foods and snacks and chips. This also can negatively impact the gut microbiome. We also have gluten and conventional dairy for some, but I mostly see that the wheat part of the let's say whole wheat product instead of the gluten is really tends to be the culprit here. And we actually see tolerance to gluten and wheat and dairy improve when we actually treat the root cause of the issue, which is bacterial overgrowth. So my goal is that you will no longer be sensitive to gluten or wheat, and you'll really be fine with dairy. I'm not sure if you're okay with dairy now. I think you did say use oat milk, which I actually was going to suggest unsweetened almond milk, because oat milk is actually high in those fermentable carbs, just as a side note. So I'll also send you kind of a little meal plan based on some of those specific recommendations that I'll be making for those immediate swaps. So let's break down the 3 phases. So we have the balanced meal formula, which I know you watched the video lesson on that. I'll show you the plate again in this packet just to solidify that for you. I don't think it's necessary to count calories or weigh your food. We really want to be using that macro balance to really help facilitate your balanced blood sugar and get your body in a state of nourishment so that it feels like it can heal. I think it's a little too stressful to be weighing food, to be counting calories. But if you do want like a little more structured of a macro plan, you can let me know that for sure. I like to kind of do it as needed. And we're gonna, start a guided elimination plan that's not super strict, but it's reducing some of these highly fermentable carbohydrates that are influencing that everyday bloat that you're having. So when we limit those foods, the bacteria that I believe that are in your small intestine are going to have less foods to react to and increase gas production. And that bloating will reduce as we're working on killing those bacteria at the same time. So we'll talk about some of the supplements we're going to utilize for that, some of those dietary changes, and we're going to have different supplements that are appropriate at different points of the healing journey and based on the rate of your progress. I'll also show you how to then reintroduce those foods to really pinpoint personal triggers. It may be even close to that 3-month mark because it usually is a 4-month program. So I may show you how to do it on your own, or you can always end up adding foods back in, even prior to the end of the 3-month date. You could always add on another month of coaching if you'd like, or if you're feeling really, really good more quickly, we can certainly add those foods back in sooner, and you can have me to guide you through that. Because the goal is that you're going to achieve the best possible diet diversity long-term. You're not going to have any food sensitivities, and you're just going to be basically testing some of those highly fermentable foods again, just to prove basically that you can tolerate them again. So I just wrote your current weight, your ideal body weight, no weight loss desired at this time. And I do think you have a high likelihood of SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, where bacteria are not supposed to be. They're multiplying and they're feeding on the food that you're eating too early in the GI tract. So that's causing problems. It's causing that bloating, that distension of your stomach, where you feel like, even when you just drink water, the bacteria there are highly reactive, and they could be even reacting to foods that the load of the past 24 hours can affect the bloating. So even if you feel like you ate something that you usually tolerate the meal before, it could be something the night previously that's actually affecting the bloat. It's really the load of those carbohydrates in the gut in the 24 hours. I do believe that it's a certain gas called methane dominant. It's the most associated with the propensity for constipation that you have. I know you said it's not really, it's not daily and it's not chronic, but you said that you get more constipated when you have your period. If you don't drink coffee, you don't eat breakfast. So there's some stipulations for your gut that affect whether or not you have constipation. So I do believe the SIBO is also contributing to that as well, because SIBO actually, once you have it, it starts slowing down your gut even more with that gas production of methane. So I do also have a SIBO video lesson on this, which will help it make more sense. And there is a way to test for it. You could do a home test one for $349. You could ask a GI doctor to order it for you and see if there's insurance coverage for it. But the GI doctor compliance definitely varies with whether or not they're willing to order it. And then thirdly, you can always treat with me based on your symptoms and clinical assessment, just without testing. So that's completely up to you. You can decide that, if you want to spend the money and make sure it's definitely there. I'm totally supportive of that, but I'm also supportive of you feeling better as soon as you are able to, and you could always get started with a treatment based on your symptoms. So that's completely up to you. You can let me know, and I would help you. Basically, I would guide you on the testing, the one that's ordered from online, and I would guide you on the results, of course. So I would be helping you through that. So with SIBO, we always want to know, why did this happen? Because SIBO is really a symptom, and it's a dysfunction of something that's going wrong in your GI tract. So we can't just kill the bacteria. We have to understand why it happened and make sure that we're addressing all these reasons that it may have happened so that it does not happen again. The fact that you went off birth control is good, but the history of antibiotics and both at birth control, I feel like, contributed to the large intestinal dysbiosis, which is imbalance of good and bad bacteria in the large intestine. And this basically means that the scales are tipping more towards being higher in pathogens over time with the use of the antibiotics and birth control, because birth control has been shown in research to negatively affect diversity of microbes in the gut. It also has been shown to reduce gut motility, which is the rate at which your gut basically moves your food throughout the GI tract. All these are risk factors of SIBO. We also want to rule out thyroid involvement, which also can influence SIBO development, especially sluggish gut and methane dominant. Even if it's not full-blown hypothyroidism, we just want to look at your TSH, your T3, which is your thyroid hormones, your T4 is your inactive thyroid hormones. We want to look at these and say, okay, are these even slightly off? Because then even if they're slightly off, they still can be impacting your gut motility. So we want to make sure that we're addressing that. There are things that I can even recommend that help your thyroid, that help your motility. So I would love if we could be able to get a thyroid test. If you're not, I know you said you don't want to go back to that primary doctor. Maybe you can either get a new one, or if you want, I could share with you some home tests that do some thyroid testing. So let me know what you think. And you could always pause this at any time if you need to take a note, or, let me, write a note of something you want to tell me or ask me too, because I know there's a lot of information at once. And obviously you'll get this uploaded into your document section, so you don't need to take note of everything, because you'll just have this as a PDF. And like I said before, definitely some large intestinal dysbiosis evident from your symptoms, from your bloating, from your minor constipation. And like I said before, also this dysbiosis influences the development of SIBO higher up in the GI tract. And you could further assess your large intestinal microbiome with a stool test as an optional add-on. That's about 170, but that also gives past clients really good insight into specific bacteria that are in their gut, specific pathogens, the balance of good and bad bacteria, the diversity of bacteria in the gut, bacterial toxins being produced. So it is very insightful. Now, I definitely think there's some leaky gut going on, which is gut permeability and this gut inflammation. And definitely with SIBO, with intestinal inflammation, with reflux, indigestion, food sensitivities, and then some other non-GI symptoms like fatigue and chronic sinuses, anxiety, mood changes, things like that, like you had checked off. That all is related to what's going on in the gut. So once we treat the gut, we improve the gut integrity, you're definitely going to see improvements in some of these things as well. We know that reflux is actually a symptom of SIBO, because the gases that are being produced in the small intestine can go upward and cause that upper GI pressure. So when we address SIBO, this will also heal and mitigate a lot of that reflux and the burping and the indigestion. And we'll also talk about some foods temporarily. We'll see I have like a reflux PDF in the modules. So we'll really kind of pinpoint for now what foods are really triggering for you, in addition to the ones you had already told me. We'll see if there's any more. Obviously, you want to limit those for now, the ones that you know you're sensitive to, but the goal is that we're going to utilize some targeted supplementation that's going to help, one, heal the SIBO, and two, support that upper stomach lining that's going to help soothe that inflammation there. I also think you have some adrenal fatigue going on. You said you've had some external stressors over the past several months, which are definitely contributing to some burnout that you said doesn't really improve with sleep. I think the IBS, SIBO, I think you have undiagnosed IBS-C, which is the constipation version, because SIBO is basically under the umbrella of IBS. It's just most of SIBO is just labeled as IBS without looking further at it. Same with dysbiosis. So I think the adrenal fatigue, the adrenal burnout is definitely due to the internal physiological stress, plus some of the external stress you were talking about. So we really will focus on adrenal and mineral support to really improve that stress cortisol response and your stress resiliency. I also think there's some vagus nerve untoning or weakness, and gut-brain axis weakness dysfunction. So the largest nerve that connects the gut to the brain is the vagus nerve, and a vagus nerve that's weak can actually affect our motility of the GI tract, anxiety, mood changes, and the gut microbiome imbalance can actually affect brain and mood health because they communicate directly through the vagus nerve. So when the vagus nerve slows down the gut motility, that is believed to be one of the most important factor in SIBO development. So we'll talk about some lifestyle things that really are beneficial for the vagus nerve and helping to tone it, things like meditation and certain probiotics, even gargling. It sounds strange, but it really stimulates that vagus nerve that's right behind your vocal cords. And yeah, so we'll talk about some of those lifestyle things, and we'll implement things slowly over the course of the program. Rule out hypothyroidism, like we said, even if subclinical. And I think possible hormone imbalance. I know you said you have you have kind of bad PMS symptoms, and that may mean you may have an estrogen and progesterone imbalance. We typically see an imbalance with these two when someone has pretty bad PMS symptoms, and SIBO and large intestinal dysbiosis have been linked to the imbalance of estrogen and progesterone. So you could have these hormones tested at a primary doctor if you get a new one, an OBGYN, or again, we could do like a home test if you'd like. Otherwise, we can treat the gut. We can still work on some hormone balancing practices and use tools that help that. These are just the 4 R's, which are basically highlighting a lot of the things we were just talking about: reducing the fermentable carbs, confirm the presence of the bacteria in the small intestine if you prefer, eliminate the overgrowth, and improve dysbiosis of large intestine using antimicrobials. This is better than using antibiotics. Antibiotics kill all bacteria. We want to be just targeting the bad guys, and we want to be targeting these small intestinal bacteria. So these herbal antimicrobials only target those displaced and pathogen bacteria, as well as fungi and parasites, and leave the good bacteria intact. So it's more a gentle and effective method. And instead of taking an antibiotic course that's short, over about 10 days, you're taking them for about 2 to 3 months. So it's a slower process, but it's more gentle, effective, and long lasting. We want to repair the intestinal lining, improve its integrity. We want to restore the motility of the GI tract to prevent relapse of symptoms in SIBO, restore beneficial bacteria, and use different probiotics and prebiotics that are suitable to you at different stages of the program. So just also thinking of that prebiotic, I just would love to see it, because certain prebiotics can be bloat promoting, especially if you're bloating from everything. I just worry if your current prebiotic, if it's high FODMAP or high fermentable carbs, is contributing to your bloating at the moment. So I'd just love to see a picture of it just to make sure it's not contributing to your bloating right now. So these are some other testing that would be recommended. I believe you said celiac disease was already ruled out. It would be beneficial to get an H. pylori breath test, especially because you have reflux. So it would be great to get a GI doctor follow-up if you can within the next month. And then I could always talk to you beforehand about what to emphasize, what to ask for. And I know you said you have not gotten an endoscopy or colonoscopy. I do think an endoscopy would be beneficial for you, but it's definitely a personal choice. So let me know if you're interested in making that appointment, but I do think you would definitely benefit from the H. pylori breath test at least. And then you could ask for the SIBO breath test there if you didn't want to do the home test or if you didn't want to just treat based on symptoms. So let me know what you think. I also wrote down a bunch of primary doctor follow-up lab values. I also will create a Google lab Excel sheet if you do send me labs to review with my optimal ranges based on based on what your doctor sends you. I take the number and put it into my set of optimal ranges that are a little bit tighter than a conventional range, and I can get a better picture of what's going on. This is that large intestinal microbiome test I was talking about before as an option. If you wanted more information and data about your large intestine and your colon microbiome. And let's get into some goals. So these are goals throughout the program that we'll be targeting with our interventions. So plant diversity is always number one. So especially on a lower FODMAP, lower carbohydrate, lower fermentable carbohydrate elimination plan, we want to keep it varied. We don't want to eat the same things every day. We want to increase the number of plants in our diet. That is the number one predictor of a healthy and resilient gut microbiome, which is important for our entire body. So that's important for on low FODMAP, for off of low FODMAP as you expand. I'll be having you do plan challenges and where you're counting the number of plants that you're eating in 7 days. And our goal is that that's going to go up throughout the course of the program. We want to definitely try to get you eating a little bit bigger of a breakfast, adding breakfast, improving fiber intake that way. That's going to really help support your overall gut healing, microbiome health, hormone health. I think your broken sleep also may be may also be like a sign that you're having a little bit of low blood sugar in the early morning hours. And then you're skipping breakfast still sometimes, and that's your body's in a perceived state of stress. And so that's kind of your body's way of signaling you to eat sooner to bring up your blood sugar. That's kind of my perception of it. So I think more earlier eating for you, it definitely will be beneficial and it'll help your sleep throughout those late, early morning hours. We want to eradicate SIBO, rebalance the microbiome, uncover all possible root causes of SIBO, optimize your motility, support your upper stomach digestion, heal that upper stomach gut lining that's kind of like raw from that reflux and regurgitation that you said you're having. We'll use some herbal prokinetics, dietary prokinetics. We'll aim for appropriate meal times, like meals every 3 to 4 hours to really signal to the body that it needs to produce enough stomach acid for upper stomach digestion. We're going to improve gut permeability, support liver function, because we know with SIBO, the liver is taking on a lot of the load of what is going on, of the stress that's happening. So we really want to support the liver. That will be about a month and a half in. I have different, video lessons that I recommend you watch. And we'll kind of have things that are more of the theme of the month for each different month. So we'll kind of make it a gradual addition of things that we're doing and tips that we're utilizing to support this gut healing process. I do recommend about 80 ounces of water for you a day. So it's about half your body weight plus more to prevent constipation. You want to be using a non-plastic water bottle as best you can, preferably glass or stainless steel. I also am a big fan of minerals such as vitamin C, potassium, sodium, magnesium. So these are more rehydrating than water. They provide optimal cellular hydration. And I have a PDF in your modules of mineral mocktails and adrenal supportive drinks that you can actually make them on your own with things like pineapple juice, coconut water, lime juice, trace mineral drops, magnesium powder. So you can also use like an all-in-one powder too. There's something called adrenal cocktail powder that's really, really great for your adrenals and this entire healing process, plus your hydration status. You can also use something like LMNT, which are keto electrolytes, something like Cure or Relight. And if you want links for these, let me know if you're not into making your own mineral mocktails with the recipes I provided in the modules. So let me know how you feel about that. Then we're going to do that low FODMAP, those low FODMAP swaps for about 8 weeks, more as needed, and enough swaps to really help you relieve your symptoms and reduce the irritation and the inflammation in the gut before we plan the reintroduction of those FODMAP groups in conjunction with treating the overgrowth in the gut with the herbal antimicrobial protocol. We also have really supportive apps like Monash and Spoonful apps. These are really helpful in addition to all the resources that you have in your document section. You'll have low FODMAP recipes, you'll have low FODMAP meal plans, and just a lot of materials that are going to help you make these changes. I linked an autoimmunity that I really like that is really great, particularly for the upper GI tract and improves the small intestinal lining. I've listed some high fiber, low FODMAP fibrous foods that are really good for you right now, that are really good for increasing that fiber intake without the bloat. And some of them you'll see have portion sizes. So with some FODMAPs, some of those fermentable carbs, there's an upper limit to the recommendation for the day for how bloat promoting it could be. So that's why some of these have a portion size associated with it. And don't get too crazy with that right now. I will help you through that as you're starting to post more of these low FODMAP foods. You have a symptom, we'll base it off of your symptoms. We don't want to unnecessarily limit things. We want to assess your tolerance. And if you can handle something, we want to keep it liberalized in your diet. So we can make adjustments based on how you do with some of these portion sizes. Then we have ginger tea, which is really great for small intestinal motility, especially on an empty stomach, like between meals, for breakfast, or even right before bed. That's really great for your indigestion, actually, and for your bloating in the morning, because it's going to help stimulate that intestinal motility to move forward when the gut is at rest overnight, or basically when we're fasting, but that's when our gut is actually moving, when we have that fasting overnight period and when we have short fast between meals. That's why we don't really want to graze too much in between meals. We want to get 3 balanced meals as best we can to really give our gut that rest in between those meals to help that motility move our food along that much more quickly. So I'll talk a little bit more about that too in the motility lesson that I'll have you watch. And I also wrote here aiming for 12 to 14 hours from dinner to breakfast. And I know you said you kind of do that already, which is good. You leave yourself a few hours before bed. But the goal is that you're not going to get that bloated after dinner to really need those few hours. That is just ideal to really get that rest period overnight to allow food to clear out from your small intestine. And I'll also touch on some things like binaural beats, meditation for anxiety, and vagus nerve support. Actually, tomorrow in our live call, we're going to be talking about cortisol and adrenal stress. So we'll be talking about some of these interventions. So definitely, if you aren't able to make it, I hope that you can watch the recording. These are some of your supplement recommendations. Again, these are temporary. These are targeted specifically to you, for your specific issues. These will change throughout the program based on your phase of healing, and they're not meant for long-term use. So don't feel like you need to keep these forever just to feel good. That is not the goal. The goal is that we are treating underlying issues that then you will be self-sufficient with maintaining. You do not, you won't need to be reliant on some of these things to feel good at all times. The goal is that you'll feel great beyond the program without any need for supplementation. There's obviously things that we like to use long-term, like here and there, like multivitamin, omega-3s, and probiotics, and that's totally great. We just won't need to rely on specific brands and specific things to feel good. So I'm going to be sending you one of the 2 antimicrobials, and I'll recommend the other to you. All these that will be recommended will be through Fullscript, which is my medical grade supplement dispensary. So this is a blend of specific herbal compounds that I talked about as an antimicrobial to kill SIBO, to kill any fungi, parasites, and gut infections without killing good bacteria in the colon as well. So it's working on the small intestine and the large intestine. And it's a very evidence-based and well-researched combination that is very often utilized in the functional medicine community. So it has a lot of research behind it. It's very well-versed and has a lot of backing. Then we have Now Super Enzymes, which is an HCl, pancreatic, and bile extract supplement. because this is really going to help you improve the digestion of your macros before they get to your small intestine, where they're obviously being fermented on too early in your digestive tract, causing all the bloating. So it's going to help you reduce bloating before you're really getting that killing phase of SIBO going, improve your indigestion, help with nutrient absorption, helps break down food better before it has a chance to become more fermentable and reduce food sensitivities. Then we also have GI relief. There's only 3 more. So GI relief, which is a combo of mucilaginous herbs that really helps soothe the upper stomach lining. So it's going to help heal symptoms of indigestion and pain and discomfort while addressing the root cause of reflux, which is SIBO. There are things like DGL, slippery elm, marshmallow root, aloe vera, and these have all evidence-based support for upper stomach healing and inflammation. Then we have a Transil, which really helps the antimicrobials in blocking gas production in the small intestine. So it's not only addressing the root cause of the bacteria, but it's also blocking the gas, which improves symptoms as well. And this has a lot of good evidence and research also over the past few years. Then lastly is S. boulardii probiotic. This is what I recommend instead of your physician's choice probiotic right now, because I do think with all the lactobacillus in there, it may be adding more fuel to the fire. So hold on to that one, and we can definitely add it back in later. But I recommend firstly is a yeast-based probiotic called Saccharomyces boulardii. It's really great for addressing SIBO, addressing dysbiosis of the gut microbiome in the large intestine that contributes to SIBO. It helps prevent pathogens from sticking to the cell wall. It's great for gut permeability that is always present with SIBO. So I really love this probiotic as your first phase recommendation. I also think you should definitely continue that New Ease because it has a good blend of the ginger and artichoke extracts that actually do support this motility in the small intestine and helps prevent constipation. So that will help with symptoms. And then the above will also help with healing the bloating for good, in addition to your dietary changes. This is a little bit more about SIBO. Again, I'm going to have you watch the SIBO video lesson. These are some of the causes that are common with SIBO. So like we said, antibiotics, birth control, taking reflux medication that may have recently kind of tipped the scales and making you even feel a little bit worse, low in digestive enzymes, migraine motor complex support, which we're going to be supporting, and then diet when it's a little bit high in starches, FODMAPs, complex sugars. This is when it can get really irritated. These are some more common causes and risk factors of SIBO, things like celiac. I know you said, I think, let me know, did you get that? Was that blood markers that you got ruled out with celiac, or how did did you say they ruled that out? Just curious. And then we typically see things like vitamin B12 deficiency that influences fatigue and being tired, extra tired. So that wouldn't be surprising to me if we saw low B12 in your lab work. Anemia, low iron is very common. So it's actually absorbing your nutrients before you can, which can prevent you from getting those energy producing necessity of vitamins. And these are just some of those horrible symptoms that can come with SIBO that can feel kind of vague, but can really, be debilitating. This is that balanced meal formula we talked about in the video lesson. So we got half your plate non-starchy veggies, quarter whole grains, and a quarter lean protein with a serving of healthy fats. So I have examples of each here that are low FODMAP recommended and approved. So low bloat for all of these examples. So, and I'll give you again recipes and sample meal plans to give you more ideas on that. And of course, as you're posting in your journal, I'll give you some recommendations for making it either slightly more balanced or saying this is great, this is good balance. So I'll really be guiding you through that. These are just some tidbits expanding on each of those, like of the whole grains, of the lean protein, my recommendations on those, healthy fats, anti-inflammatory foods like turmeric, ginger, cacao, chocolate powder, dark chocolate, a lot of these herbs, strawberries, spinach, decaf green tea, if it's not a reflux trigger. But I typically see like peppermint tea being a very big reflux trigger, so I wouldn't have that right now. Snacking daily as needed. You don't want to be grazing, like I said. So you really want to have a balanced snack when you do have a snack. You want to be pairing any carbs you have with protein and healthy fats. And I know you said you typically would maybe snack on like chips or crackers, or pretzels. So I want you to be rethinking snacks a little bit. Like, how can it hold me over more properly till the next meal? Pairing a carb with a protein like a string cheese or hard-boiled egg or peanut butter or almond butter, this is really going to help improve your blood sugar regulation. And again, I think you're going to also sleep better through the night if your blood sugar is not going all over the place. This is a little bit more about that in regards to breakfast. So we really want to have enough protein and fat at breakfast and not having a carb only breakfast or a high carb breakfast. Because if you see this red curve, this is even in a non-diabetic. A non-diabetic blood sugar after a high carb, low fat, or low protein breakfast can even go up to 180. And 2 hours later, that can really cause this dip in energy, this dip in blood sugar goes down to the 70s. When it goes down that quickly, that's when we get that fatigue, that low energy, that brain fog. And then our body's just craving more carbohydrates then when it gets to that low point. So when you have a high protein, high fat meal, something with eggs, something with avocado, I have more examples of this. I'll send it to you in your low FODMAP meal plan. But when we balance our carbohydrates with protein and healthy fats, we're going to have better blood sugar regulation throughout the day, a more stable curve of this green line. This is a little bit more about FODMAPs, what the FODMAPs stand for. Basically, just fermentable types of carbohydrates. You don't need to be memorizing and really diving deeper into these names. And this shows you how the FODMAPs draw water into the small intestine, and then they produce gas in the large intestine with bloating, distension, abdominal pain, and sometimes constipation. This is a good little PDF of how to make a low FODMAP meal and building a balanced plate with all low FODMAP items that are all low bloat. So you can kind of take some from each category. Remember using the balanced plate, a quarter plate grains, a quarter plate protein, half your plate non-starchy vegetables, and then fruit. I would recommend either having with breakfast or having as a snack. Dairy, some lactose, some regular lactose products are still okay on low FODMAP because they're low in lactose, like cheddar cheese, Swiss cheese, Parmesan, brie, feta, a little mozzarella, like a quarter cup. I just recommend for milk, you choose lactose free, and yogurt, you choose lactose free as well. Here are some examples of the Monash app and the portion sizes. Again, you don't have to get too crazy with this, but the Monash app is really helpful if you want to check it out. So this shows you how a serving of 10 nuts of almonds are all in the green for FODMAPs, meaning 10 serving of almonds is low FODMAP. But when we get to 20 nuts of almonds, one of the FODMAP groups is elevated. So that means the whole reaction to that 20 nuts will be bloating for someone with IBS or SIBO, because that raises that threshold of the galacto-oligosaccharide FODMAP group. So you don't really need to know which group it is. You just need to kind of know, you can realize that, okay, if I have 10 nuts, low bloat. If I have 20 nuts, that might push me over the edge with bloating. So this is how we learn. This is how we I'll be helping you through this. You don't need to memorize these portion sizes. Just getting familiar with some of the foods that are high FODMAP and low FODMAP are really useful. And I have a few charts in your modules. These are some low FODMAP fruits and their portion sizes. And I always recommend, again, pairing with protein or healthy fat. I love this list because it's very diverse. It's so great for us to be getting a diverse range of fruit and vegetables in our diet, especially if we're limiting some high FODMAP foods. These are some great low FODMAP high fiber choices: chia, walnuts, quinoa, pumpkin seeds, brown rice, and half a cup of canned chickpeas. These are some of my favorite sources, getting that fiber while also being low bloating. These are some great flavors because unfortunately garlic and onion are not recommended on low FODMAP. So these are some other ways to get some really good flavors in your diet without the bloating. I also have like a lot of different things on my low FODMAP Amazon list that's linked lower in the chart, lower in the PDF, like garlic infused olive oil and some like green onion leaf blends and some spices that are all low FODMAP certified. This is actually, I think it's this link here. So check that out and you'll see a whole low FODMAP section. And here's a healthy snack list that's low FODMAP. Then we have some other wellness recommendations. Definitely want to hydrate before you caffeinate in the morning. And if you could try to eat breakfast either at the same time or before your coffee, that would actually be much better for your gut, for your reflux, for your adrenal stress, your cortisol levels, which is your stress hormone. I'm also linking a bone broth concentrate that I really love that you can add to kind of a savory like bone broth drink, or you can add it to soups or stews. I have a grass-fed collagen link, which I really do like there for gut healing, reduce gut permeability. I have a low FODMAP Buddha bowl here that you could see that's kind of nicely varied. Actually, this is vegetarian. You can add chicken if you'd like to, or turkey. And these are some ways to optimize your fiber intake, limit refined sugar tips, and just some weekly meal prep guides, things that you can do ahead of the week that are making it easier for you throughout the week. I also do send out a weekly meal planner that's blank on Sundays that you're welcome to fill out and send back to me if you want to be held accountable, or if you just want to kind of put out a loose, rough plan for the week. It doesn't have to be perfect, just helping you kind of collect your thoughts before the week begins. So I'll send that to you via email on Sundays. So, and just a few more recipes. I have a turmeric tea, a strawberry almond butter oatmeal, a smoothie. So that is the packet. And I know it's a lot of information, but go through it. Let me know when you finish. Let me know what questions you have. And I'll send you the supplement recommendations when you're finished because I don't want to confuse you by sending them now before you watch the video. Excuse my crazy hair after a long day. But I hope you learned a lot, and I am really excited for you to feel better, to get to the root cause of your gut issues, get rid of this bloating, and feel so much better just going into the holiday season and the new year. So I'm here for whatever questions you have, and looking forward to working with you, Amanda. I'll talk to you soon.